Well, we welcome you back here to the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine ahead of race 2, our final race of the weekend here at Barcelona before we tee up the runs heading into Hockenheim and Monza. The temperature in the air sitting calmly at 22 degrees ahead of the track temperature of 25 degrees, which is obviously a little bit warmer. By extension, the humidity has taken a slight decline as well. It's now 76% as opposed to the 90% we were experiencing first thing this morning. But hitting the heights of P1, Enzo Dellini will be starting on the front row and on pole position, returning once again for the third time this season ahead of Pedro Cliro, who will join him on the front row for Van Amersfoort Racing. Further back, Akshay Bora in third alongside Evan Gilter with his best performance in a long time for ART. Michael Belov in fifth for CL Motorsports ahead of Matteo De Parlo, the championship leader, with Freddie Slater in seventh as well, also vying for the championship. Hugh Yamakoshi in eighth, Jin Nakamura in ninth ahead of Jack Beaton in P10, Rashid Al Lahiri representing Mercedes and Prema in P11 ahead of Taito Kato in 12th. Further back, we have Kanato Lay in 13th ahead of Santiago Ramos on his return this weekend to RPM. Juan Puqui from Prema on his wild card. First starts here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, lining up alongside Ruiki Liu for Trident. Edwin Robinson in 17th as well ahead of Dion Gauda. Sakir Al-Moushari in 19th alongside Matteo Capietto, also returning for RPM, with Edouard Borgner in 21st, Nanovid Biran Bakhti in 22nd, ahead of Giovanni Maschio and Tim Gerhardt, who line up in 23rd and 24th respectively. And it's Yaroslav Basalo for Santalok, joined by teammate Nikita Bedrin, who had all his times deleted after it was ruled that he fielded a caster length that was not in compliance with the regulations in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, so therefore we'll be starting from the back of the grid. So now as we look ahead to yet more racing action, 30 minutes plus the one lap to take us through it, and luckily enough for us, it looks like the weather that was, of course, due to be soaking the circuit during the entire day, it's been sort of on stop and start through frequent occasions, though we have had more dry running than not so far today throughout the entirety of the racing we've experienced here at Barcelona, but it doesn't mean to say that we might not see it again. The clouds are very grey overhead. You can just about see it at the top right of shot as you're seeing it on screen as we look ahead to the grid. Enzo Dellini, of course, after the mishap in yesterday's race over the first lap where he lost his front wing, obviously putting those demons to bed and managing to strike gold up at the very top during qualifying, taking pole position, and therefore will be sitting on the front row alongside Pedro Cliro, who was, I must say, a good value choice to potentially take the top spot. We're starting behind the safety car due to unequal grip conditions out on the grid, which is, you know, totally understandable. Certain areas of this track damper than others, other portions are largely drier than others as well. So just to ensure that the drivers are well aware of what they're dealing with, we will be starting behind the safety car, as you can see from the front end of the rostrum, so it will not just be a standing start. We will, of course, be under the safety car for a small portion until it's agreed to go green once again, as the teams now and their crew leave the grid, and it's down to the drivers and the cars themselves. RAce GP with a great chance here today of scoring some big points, obviously with Dellini on the front row for starters. That's always a good place to start. You also have Akshay Bora sat just behind him as well. Of course, Cliro is going to be doing his damnedest to try and bring Van Amersfoort there first win here at Barcelona since Pierre-Louis Chauvet back in 2020. But we'll need to take advantage on the run down through towards turn one, just like Matteo De Parlo did, in order to scoop up his fourth win of the season, planting him firmly to the top of the championship, but by 4 points. Still enough time for Freddie Slater to rein that gap back in and retake that championship lead that he arrived with coming into the Barcelona round. But Hockenheim and Monza still to come, so plenty of chapters to digest before we drop the checkered flag at the end of this season. The Alpine safety car now carries on, so now the front runners will peel off, commencing the race under the safety car. And the lineup in single file, no overtaking during this period. And because it's a wet track, they have asked the drivers to ensure that the lights are on the cars. So the entire grid will, of course, conform to it, and they'll make their way down through towards turn one as we settle them down into a single file line, venturing through turns one and turns two. Of course, largely Prema have had the success here. I mentioned that in the qualifying show earlier on today. Of course, James Wharton taking 2 poles last year, converting those into 2 victories. Freddie Slater, who took pole, of course, last season, or this season I should say, based on what we've seen from prior seasons, only the second Freca driver, or the second driver in the last 4 years, or the last 4 seasons, or indeed he could make that last 5 seasons, to not go from lights to flag with a victory. Of course, Andrea Kimi Antonelli didn't manage to do it either back in 2023 in race 1. Tim Tranlitz ended up being the winner, but Matteo Topalo gifting Trident their first win at Barcelona in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, and I have to say, as a team, they've been on the up with their efforts in FIA Formula 3, and now transferring the same effects here to Freca in itself. So they climb the hill through towards the flying turn 9. And there's Rashid Al-Bahiri as well, the Mercedes Junior. He'll be hoping for a big race himself. As they continue behind the safety car, you'd imagine they'll go into the next lap here and now. But no rainfall currently on display just yet. Obviously, it looks like largely the sun is actually getting brighter. So fingers crossed we won't see the dark clouds emerging and droplets falling. It does look like it's relatively dry around Sector 3, but obviously some edge of caution being observed by the championship, and rightfully so, as they come through the final sector as Enzo Tellini leads the way with Clero and Bora as well. Currently 2 R-Race GPs featuring inside the top 3. Of course, we look back at Enzo Tellini and Bora's fantastic efforts back at Imola, both taking race wins and featuring on the podium in both races in a blanket weekend for the R-Race GP team, making a big, or forming a big influence to them, taking the team's championship lead at the same time. As we now watch as the cars fly up through the first few corners again. And great to see Evan Gilter back inside the top 4 as well. We're looking for a podium. Hasn't had a podium since all the way back when he won at Misano in race 2 for ART. He is the highest of the ARTs inside the Drivers' Championship at the moment. Taito Kato just featuring behind Hugh Yamakoshi right now. Currently sits in the championship standings. As they now make their way through the right-hander of turn 4 and then down through towards turn 5. They can see Matteo Topalo, championship leader in the distance. Of course, Freddie Slater joining him for company as well. Quite appropriate that we have the 2 top leading drivers in this series clubbed together in P's 6 and 7. Of course, not sharing the same row of the grid, however. Slater just 1 row back, joining Hii Yamakoshi. Hii Yamakoshi had a difficult run in the opening race of the weekend, starting further back, and had to really work his way through the field. Could not quite pull off the same exploits as Jin Nakamura, who won our Pirelli Rising Car Award coming into the weekend after his 20 places gained during the Red Bull Ring race 1 that being. So they now come down through towards turn 10. The safety car coming in this lap, so we will get back to green action for the final 24 minutes or so, just under 25 minutes plus 1 lap as soon as they cross the stripe. Tellini will be the one to get them going again. He basically becomes the safety car here at this point. It's on his decision to pick up the pace, and he will certainly do so now as they come through turn 11, later turn 12, turn 13, then turn 14, and then down the straight as they round the final bend time. Clero watching him through his visor. They're going to put pedal to the metal, and it's go! Go, 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 go! Great start for Tellini, also a decent start for Clero. They all ran single file, all the way down through towards turn 1. They remain in formation as they charge through towards the first corner apex under green flag conditions. Freddie Slater now further back as well, looking to try and make a hard touch, trying to prevent the ongoing encroachment here as well. And also looks like Rashid Al-Bahiri's trying to garner here a move here on Jack Beaton, his own teammate, and it looks like Rashid Al-Bahiri's going to try it around the outside, the Aussie from the Gold Coast under pressure now as we watch them. 2 Prema drivers under pressure, one of them from their own teammate here, Freddie Slater. Also Matteo Topalo with them as well. Jin Nakamura manacled now with the number 6 of Hugh Yamakoshi as they start to duel now, coming through out of turn 4. Still at the moment beaten, managing to keep Rashid Al-Bahiri behind, and Rashid Al-Bahiri now under pressure from Taito Kato. as they head down into the left-hander now, this time coming out of turn 5 through down towards turn 6 and 7 as they now venture up through Birth Curve. There you can see Jin Nakamura floating uphill, still chasing after Yu Yamakoshi. Delaney still leads now, 0.4 of a second is the gap as they now cruise over the crest and head down through turns 9, down the hill through towards turns 10 again this time around. And then you can see Clearo still locked in second place. Michael Belov getting a good start as well, qualified very smartly of course this time. Rajal Lahiri once again under pressure from Taito Kato. Lahiri trying to take the place back in front from Taito Kato, but he tries the up and under and it's given him some respite here. Jack beats it, but Taito Kato now once again side by side, but onto the gravel. My goodness me, or is that Kato Lay? In fact, I do apologise, and that was Kato Lay who was in the mixer on that. And as a whole, I think he's now found himself around Quan Pu Kui. So I do apologise, wrong ART. In fact, the other one was Taito Kato with Jack Beaton. As we see Amit Jolter coming down into the braking zone in turn 1, and here we are. There is the 45 of Jack Beaton meeting the 89 of Taito Kato now, and Taito Kato has brushed past Beaton for P10. There's Quan Pu Kui taking the escape road as well, heading up through turns 1, 2 and later turns 3. They now play through the first sector, and now we can just see a Prema running off very wide. Now, goodness me, who is that? I believe that is Quan Pu Kui again, and now Dion Garner moves through, so we'll take a look at this once more. Oh, that's something different. That's Giovanni Maschio, and a yellow flag is out at turn 11. Giovanni Maschio with a rear left suspension issue, the tyre removing from the chassis of the car, the Tatas 2318 chassis. They're embracing this season in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, and the safety car has been called out as a result of the crash. Maschio out of the race, and we're now down to 25 runners here at the moment, with Jaroslav Vasalo down in 25th. Nikita Bedrid already moving up to 22nd ahead of his other teammate Tim Gerhardt. So you've got 3 Santa Locks down in the bottom 4 of the running cars right now, and you can just see Giovanni Maschio still sat in his car at the moment with the rear left, whilst still fixed to the chassis, not in position or where it should be. It has broken away. So that RPM is well and truly out of the race for Keith Donegan's team. But it's still Enzo Delaney out in front. Of course, this does mean that any hopes of time gain for Delaney is put to bed for now. He will return to within proximity of Pedro Clearo. Akshay Bora also forming up in behind as well. Good news for him, because he was 1.1 seconds back. Now that time can be brought straight back inwards as well. But as he now form up, Jack Beaton was now behind Taito Kato after those two were dueling out on track not too long ago. Rashid Al Lahiri also having a busy race. Kato as a result of the brushing with the gravel finds himself just ahead of Trident's Ruiki Lu, but behind Santiago Ramos, and Quan Pu Kui now behind Matteo Capietto. So the 2 RPMs currently sat 13th and 18th, with their teammate Giovanni Maschio out of the race. But so far, Delaney in control, as it was at the end of qualifying. And so Delaney, the young 17-year-old from Shanghai, China, looking to bounce back from yesterday. 5th of the Formula Regional Middle Eastern Championship last campaign, of course, coming into the start of the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine season. Was 4th in the Macau Grand Prix as well in 2024, and 4th in the Spanish F4 Rookie Championship as well. He was Rookie Champion, but 4th overall in the championship as a whole, with 2 wins and 10 podiums. Same year he would make his single-seater debut after various karting successes between 2016 and 2022. The French-Chinese driver really embracing single-seater racing and life here in Formula Regional European Championship. Alpine, formerly part of the Red Bull Junior Academy as well, but still an opportunity to go back in if the results go more his way. All comes down to performance at the end of the day, as Giovanni Maschio's car gets carted off and into the safety off track, just to allow racing to continue. We're inside the final 19.5 minutes, of course, still plus the 1 lap to be observed after that. It's carried through to 0 as well. Pedro Clearo still there and thereabouts, trying to hustle for a 6th podium finish. But with would ideally like to make it win number 3 after winning back at Zandvoort for the first time this season. Of course, his last win featuring at race 2 at Red Bull Ring, our last round. Following in the footsteps of Cas Albacourt. So they stretch down the long straight, warming the tyres up as they go, just to get a little bit of extra heat and extra grip into the Pirelli rubber. Of course, much like higher up the single-seater roster of Pirelli, supplying the FIA Formula 3 and Formula 2 championships, and of course the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine with its announced FIA relationship now, looking ahead to next season as it will become the Formula Regional European Championship once more, as it was back in 2019 and 2020. With the new car to be announced as well, with all the bells and whistles and the complete that will be announced very soon too. It's going to be an exciting time for the series. The safety car confirmation that it's coming in this lap. Enzo Tellini would love nothing more than to bring 25 points home, to etch himself back again closer to championship leader Matteo De Carlo. As it stands, De Carlo ahead of Slater inside this top 10 at the moment in P6. The driver that notched together Trident's first ever wins in this championship and has made it 4 as well this season. And you never know, with 2 rounds to go, 4 races after this one, there could be more coming. Of course, at the moment, Freddie Slater with 5 wins, the highest recorded so far this season, and level with the likes of Alessandro Giusti and Martini Stenshorn and Andrea Kimi Antonelli, Hadrian David, who is here this weekend as well, supporting his driver Enzo Tellini, was coaching the young French driver as they come to the final sector. Here this time around, the safety car will peel off. It will come down to Tellini to manage the restart here as they come through the final corner now. Bringing an end to the safety car period. We will be green again. Help a pedal to the metal for the same time in this race now. And it will be Tellini. Charging down through towards turn 1. Clear road, only 3/10 behind. Might have a chance here with the use of push to pass if he has it available to him. Of course, many drivers do choose to prefer to use it at the very end. Evan Gilter trying to cover off Michael Belov, who has a look up the inside as well for CL Motorsports. They fly through turn 1. Unsuccessful Michael Belov, but there is side-by-sides elsewhere. Jin Nakamura tying up this time as well with Taito Kato as they came through the first sector. And I think Taito Kato might have got the upper hand in that exchange. They now come down through towards turn 4, and yes, I think he has. As they now go wheel to wheel elsewhere. Here comes Freddie Slater on Matteo De Carlo. A battle over the championship lead right now, and he might go for the double here. Freddie Slater, as he now goes wheel to wheel with Michael coming in towards turn 5. The Prema now swiftly moving at the inside, and Matteo De Carlo looking to follow them through as well. And Slater into P5 here at Barcelona, and De Carlo looking to do the same as they come uphill through Vert Curve, rising up through the ranks, the highest part of the course, as they now shoot downhill. Matteo De Carlo can't quite unhook Belov just yet, but just look at that from Freddie Slater. 2 moves made in 1 sector alone, and he's now in P5 as De Carlo looks to take the long way around as they come through towards turn 10. They're floating up through turn 11. They creep him through towards turn 12. Slater holding firm at the moment, but it looks like at the moment Belov trying every which way to push his CL Motorsport car further up the rostrum. And in behind we also have Hiyu Yamakoshi coming into the thick of the action as well, and he is joined by Taito Kato, who's having a fantastic race so far, lifting himself outside of the top 10, back inside the top 10, offering opportunities here for ART, coupling with Evan Gilter's efforts as well. Kanato laid back on the tail of Rashid Al Lahiri. So again, Rashid Al Lahiri's got to try and keep an ART in behind once again as they float through the first sector once more with 14 minutes and 55 to go. There is Yamakoshi on the tail of Matteo De Carlo, who's just seen his title rival not only pass him, but also Michael Belov just in front as well. What could that mean for the championship as we head into the final 2 rounds at this very late stage of the season? We're going to sign off the Barcelona weekend with some fireworks. We've had plenty of it so far through the course of this race. As now I look around the outside here for an RPM, that's the 21 No less than Matteo Cappietto, the young Frenchman, on his return to single-seater action, and it looks like he's gone off wide as well, and he'll drop a fleet of places as a result on the outset of turn 5 onto the grass, and it's misery there for Matteo Cappietto, unfortunately, and he will sink lower and lower through this 25-car grid rostrum that still remains out on track after Giovanni Maschio was unfortunately a retirement earlier on, and Cappietto as a result dropping behind Tim Gerhardt right now as we watch as Michael Belov sweeps through turn 11 through turns 12 and 13, 14. And now down the long straight once again, Delini 8/10 clear at the moment. A little bit wide there as well. We just saw a car skipping off into the gravel. I think that might have been Michael Belov. That could be inviting here once again for Matteo De Palo. Yamakoshi and Kato also together as well at the same time. And Nakamura and Jack Beaton also looking to stretch their legs as well. Here comes Belov and Matteo De Palo. We've got side-by-sides as well. Yamakoshi coming under fire from Taito Kato, who moves up a place again. He now raises the stakes. De Palo looking all over the back of Michael Belov. Can't quite find his way through, but a great move for Taito Kato, who moves into 8th ahead of Banana Sports Hiyu Yamakoshi. Great move from Kato, and it's wheel to wheel once again further back. That's Jack Beaton under fire from Kanato Lay. He's taken the long way around here, and Kanato Lay coming through turn 4 and ferrying his way ahead of Beaton for P12 here in this stage, and is now on the tail of Rashid Al Dahiri.
Here on the tail of Rashid Al Dahiri, and still being put under pressure here by Jack Beaton, sitting in P13. And behind him, of course, is Sergio Ramos in P14. But Enzo Delini, though, leads this race by just over 1 second. He's actually on a bit of that push to pass that is available, which we saw a lot of, which being used in race number 1 between Matteo De Palo and Freddie Slater. Of course, they now sit P5, P7 in this race. Pedro Claro, that margin, he's absolutely being dropped at the moment. 1.3 seconds, very much outside that slipstream margin. It's probably about 0.4, so he needs to find nearly a second to get that margin back down. He's pulled it back a little bit, maybe using a bit. The track is as layers and layers of rubber continues to be put down there on the outside of the circuit. That high-speed sweeping corner sideways here for the number 6 of Michael Belov. Now being, not Michael Belov, that is Taito Kato really being is on the exit there of turn number 1. Michael Belov being put under pressure by Matteo De Palo. Still quite a chunk of this race still to go. 11.25 minutes remaining, 1.1 seconds. Championship margin goes the way. 11 points for Matteo De Palo. Of course, if Freddie Slater finishes where he is, that margin will drop by 2 points back down to 9. Matteo De Palo will technically still lead the championship at the end of this round. Will lead the championship at the end of this round. That is quite surprising indeed, after Freddie Slater took the championship lead back in race 2 last time out in round number 6. Sorry, round number 7. We head into round number 8. Here, the third final round of the Formula Regional European Championship at Alpine, of course, next year, as I mentioned, in the Italian F4 Championship. This championship will be named the FIA Formula Regional Championship, proudly supported by the FIA and no longer supported by Alpine. Yeah, so the FIA will be supporting this well-known championship. It's very much as you climb through the ranks up into F3 and F2, and then very soon into Formula 1. But there's a long road still to come. I have to go through all the junior single-seaters, that whole road of championships. You think of, I have one. It's GB3. You've got this before you've got this, then you've got to go all the way up into GB4, then GB3. Just a few to count. Then possibly a Formula 3, then Formula 2. Then in a couple of years' time, maybe 5 or 6 years' time, you might see one of these drivers up there in Formula 1. Hopefully, we see that happen. That would be very much a eye-opener for the world to see. And people would be saying, no, that Enzo Deligny won the championship back in 2028. Of course, if that does happen, at the moment we are looking to see who will win the championship this year between Freddie Slater and Matteo Di Paolo. It is less than 11 points between Matteo Di Paolo and Freddie Slater. Will that margin increase? Will it decrease? At the moment, it's looking on par for Freddie Slater to decrease it just a little bit back down to 9 points. That comfortable buffer that Matteo Di Paolo has. Of course, one driver gets eliminated in this championship. It can really ruin the hopes. If Freddie Slater was to retire this race, it would give Matteo Di Paolo a free 10-point buffer. 6-point buffer. He would score 6 points in this championship and increase that margin out. That's, of course, if Matteo Di Paolo does not make that move on Michael Belov. That is so important. If he doesn't, then it would be quite unfortunate indeed to see him not score many more points. Akshay Paul now being put under pressure by Evan Julter there. And then, of course, Freddie Slater in behind that. These three very experienced Formula Regional drivers and hoping to continue to climb their way through the ranks. As we've seen, they've made their way through. Freddie Slater winning the Italian F4 Championship. This is his first year in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Of course, did a few test drives in the Formula 3 car. Very happy with his results. Actually got close to winning a sprint race back at, I think it was, I can't remember what round it was. I think it was maybe back at Imola. Got quite close to winning there. But of course, the last round, the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine was at Austria after the summer break. And then before that, it was Imola, the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. As this battle continues to brew, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Akshay Bora just holding on to that podium position. 6.5 minutes to go. Akshay Bora in 3rd, Evan Julter 4th, Freddie Slater in P5. Then, very important name in the championship, Matteo Di Paolo in P7. The Italian sitting in P7.
And Clearo matched on 2 wins apiece.
Yeah.
But Deligny outweighing him on podiums by 2. It's 7 in the pocket of Deligny. It'll be 8 come the end of this race should he convert this to not only to a win but to a podium. And it'll be 6 podiums for Pedro Clearo should he remain as he does right now. As they come down towards turn 10 again. Evan Julter half a second away from Bora still. Continues to forfeit time on the front 2 at the moment. Of course, Deligny and Clearo only focused on what's ahead at the moment. That is who is going to come out the race winner. At the moment, Deligny, you've gathered, is your favourite. If you've been tuned in right through the course of this season, you've enjoyed probably the most competitive championship fight we have had in the history of the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. And it's all coming into fruition with Deligny, who forfeited all points yesterday after losing the front wing after an uncomfortable start coming through turns 1 and turns 2. You could have had a case to say that he may have forfeited the rights of challenging for the title off the back of that, but you never know. With a win like this, it can change absolutely everything. But first he needs to convert it. 4 tenths ahead though of Clearo. Clearo's finding yet more time. In fact, Clearo, purple in the first sector, has managed to pull off an incredible 29.6. And it's over 2 tenths quicker than Deligny alone inside sector 1. That is blistering from Pedro Clearo, and the Brazilian is on the move. He's on the tail of Enzo Deligny right now as they fly up through Verve Curve. And how are the nerves behind the visor of Enzo Deligny right now as they come through Kamsa Corner? There is your chart, folks. That is how much time is being gained by Clearo over the last 4 laps. And ever since lap 10, he's been gaining Most notably in lap 11, where he gained 2/10, but I think he's going to gain a little bit more this time. Delaney definitely putting the power down now. He was faster than Clearo in the middle sector. But of course, Clearo now with the benefits of slipstream could yet land a blow here to Delaney. Here late in the day, much like how Delaney landed a late blow in qualifying against Clearo, stopping him from taking pole position. As they now come down through towards the final couple of corners again, before beginning yet another lap. This is the battle over P4 at the moment, and P3 by extension. We've got our race leaders now making their way down through towards turn 1, and look at this from Pedro Clearo right in the wheel tracks of Enzo Delaney. And for Delaney, it's going to be very hard for him to shake Pedro Clearo at this point. The young Brazilian, 18 years of age from Brasilia in Brazil, a three-time Brazilian champion in 2018, 19 and 21, winning the Brazil Cup, winning the Brazil Open Cup in 2020 and 2021 at the same time in karts, making his single-seater debut in Brazilian F4, winning the title with 7 wins and 11 podiums, and looking to continue his run now in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, but a lock-up there on the front left, and that could cause a problem. He'll forfeit a little bit of time through that, but I don't think it's going to keep the man down one bit as they come uphill through Berth again. Delaney marshalling his charge well, but Clearo undeterred and fully motivated, heading down through towards turn 10. Daniel Gilles, I'm sure, watching on with bated breath. Van Amersfoort looking to take yet another win this season. It's been Clearo who's been doing all the winning for them so far, though Yamakoshi has pulled together 2 podiums so far this campaign himself, after taking P2s at Spa-Francorchamps and of course Zandvoort, but it's been a long time since then. Of course, it was round 3 at Zandvoort. We've had 4 rounds since. We're about to close down a 5th. Yamakoshi still in the points at the moment though, and currently keeping Nakamura at bay and chasing after Taito Kato, who in turn is on the back of Matteo De Carlo, who's far too busy with Michael Belloff at the moment, fighting over P6. Slater also all over the back of Evan Gilterre at the moment as they continue their battle over the final podium place, with still Akshay Bora in control of that right now for RSGP. They come through the first sector again, our race leaders. There is Delaney and Clearo. There is Gilterre fighting and trying to close after Akshay Bora. They come through now through turn 3. Slater on the tail of them as well. The time is ticking. If Slater wants a podium to try and push the championship back in his favour, he needs to do it ASAP. They could send a real major message ending the Barcelona weekend before we head to Hockenheim. As now once again Akshay Bora going uber defensive up the inside. We saw Gilterre a little bit of a frantic manoeuvre. I think he was keen and destined to go up the inside, and now really riding that rear wing on that RHGP car. Bora doing a stern job in defending this now, but Gilterre really glued to the back of his car this time and looks around the outside coming through, comes the corner. A narrow line taken by Akshay Bora, which will of course cause him to lose perhaps a little bit of momentum coming down in towards turn 11. Now through out of turn 10, and again Gilterre going very shallow in towards the apex of the corner before venturing through turn 11 up towards turn 12. Slater being invited into the fight, and now going wheel to wheel now with Gilterre. Around the outside goes Freddie Slater, looking to move up into 4th place, but can't do it, just running a little bit too wide, and Gilterre covered it off down the inside. Brilliant stuff from Gilterre, but at the same time he could have been caught unawares. Akshay Bora doing a great job of putting the car where it needed to be to defend the place, but now still, as we come towards the final portion of this Barcelona race, Pedro Clearo also fighting for the race lead against Enzo Delaney. It's a free-for-all for the podiums, and here comes Gilterre now around the outside, looking to go well to well with Akshay Bora, goes off the track, takes the escape road, will come out in front, you'd think, of Akshay Bora here in this instance. Now whether he'll have to give the position back, I'm not quite sure. As they now make their way down through towards turn 4, this time it looks like he is going to give it back, at least for now, as they now come in towards the apex of the corner. Back into 3rd goes Akshay Bora, and here comes Freddie Slater. Around the outside he goes now, wheel to wheel, coming down in towards turn 5. Slater now with the nose in front, the Prema's in front, and Slater moves into 4th. Brilliant move there from Freddie Slater, took full opportunity of Gilterre giving the place back to Akshay Bora. He carried the speed, coming out of turn 4 through turn 5. And again, levying more points again, against Matteo De Carlo. This has been
an absolute epic race. An epic scrap between these three of Evan Julter, Freddie Slater and Michael Belov. What an absolute epic scrap this has been. Akshay Bora, Freddie Slater, Evan Julter. We just saw Akshay Bora have a slight lock up into Le Caxier of turn 10. But apart from that, Enzo Deligny starts the final lap of the Formula Regional European Championship Alpine. Race number 2 here this weekend. It's been quite a calm race, hasn't he? He's been under pressure for most of it by Pedro Claro as Matteo Palo tries to look for a little bit of a move on Michael Belov. Taito Kato and Hideo Makashi in behind. This is the battle for 6th position going on here on the final lap of the race. Looking around the outside, trying to put a dent into Palo's championship. Taito Kato's like, I don't care if you're in a championship battle. I want this position, and I want it now. As we cut back here to Enzo Deligny and Pedro Claro. Is Pedro Claro going to be able to make a move? Of course, we saw a bit of a muck-up yesterday in a battle between Nakamoto Berta and Hideo Makashi. Of course, Vashal Zahiri, those three battling. They're P9, P10, and P11 at the moment. We saw Nakamoto Berta muck up yesterday. Gave that position away to Hideo Makashi. But at the moment, it is Enzo Deligny, who is absolutely a flying machine. This is his 3rd victory so far this season. The margin 10 seconds back to Akshay Bora. Wow, that is a big gap. But as Enzo Deligny rounds the final corner, he's actually going to be under a bit of pressure here by Pedro Claro. Slipstream to the line. He's not going to be able to do it. It's going to be Enzo Deligny who wins race number 2 for the Formula Regional European Championship Alpine. Freddie Slater off the road. Freddie Slater off the road has lost 2 spots in the process. Freddie Slater under pressure, lost 2 spots. And now that position lost to Michael Belov. Wow. What has happened there? And, oh, you're kidding. Freddie Slater has been pushed off the road by Evan Julter and lost that hard work. Oh, my God. Luckily, Michael Belov wasn't close enough, but Evan Julter and Freddie Slater come together. Slater off the road and back down into P5. Freddie Slater, that was a absolute scary moment for himself. But Enzo Deligny, though, wins this race over Pedro Claro, Akshay Bora, Evan Julter, Freddie Slater, who just had a very scary moment. Michael Belov, Matteo Palo, Taito Kato, Hideo Makashi, Jin Nakamobeta, Rachel Dahiri, Kanato Lei, Jack Bean, Remos in P14, Ricky Liu in P15, the Chinese driver, that Trident team, P15. Jack Beaton just scores outside the top 10 there, P13. Only a second off the points for himself. As we look further back down the grid, Dion Gauda, Nikita Bedrin, Edu Robertson, Capieto, Chow, and then Tim Gerhard, Zach Almostri, Nendo Biran Bhakti, Akshay, Edward Borna, Yaroslav Veslau, and Giovanni Mascio rounds out your top 26 cars, with, of course, Mascio retiring earlier on in the race. Enzo Deligny, of course, held the fastest lap in that one. 1:37.6, the fastest lap of the race for himself. But that was an absolute epic battle between himself and Pedro Claro. It's now time for the podium celebrations with George Morgan.
Surely, but you'll need to be clinical at Hockenheim. No question, he needs to make a big splash, and I'm sure RSGP know that better than anybody. They have fought tooth and nail with Kramer in the past. Obviously, we've got a new challenger by the name of Trident this season, with Matteo De Palo as well. But credit to Akshay Bora, defending like a lion, and bringing home P3, a double R-Race podium. What a way to celebrate the end of another weekend here for the R-Race team. Of course, 12 points going Freddie Slater's way. Will make a huge dent in the points at the same time, but rising out of the cockpit, Enzo Deligny will celebrate 3 race wins this season. And he knows what it means. Apologies for the language, folks. But a victory off the back of scoring no points in race 1, that's just the way you need to fight back. After losing the front wing in the very beginning of the opening race yesterday, Hadrian David issuing his congratulations, of course, a former RHGP driver here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine himself. Magic here at Barcelona, and a double podium between two great friends. Akshay Bora, almost requisite of what we saw back at Imola. Fantastic effort. In fact, it is exactly like the results from race 1 at Imola. Of course, it was Delaney, the winner on that occasion. It was P3 for Akshay Bora that time too. The only difference, Slater not appearing in P2 on this occasion. But as we got underway, these are the highlights from the race that we've just witnessed, and it was a blockbuster. We got underway after a safety car start. Green flags took us down through towards turn 1. Delaney led it from start to finish with Pedro Clero attacking in the rear. We saw plenty of jostling for position though. We just saw in the background there an RPM having an uncomfortable ride around the final corner as well as they made their way down towards the first corner apex. Rashid Al-Lahiri trying to attack Jack Beaton as well, making his way towards the top 10. Dion Gowder, of course, wheel to wheel with the 35 G4 at the same time. It was a fantastic effort by Edu Robinson, but we saw a crash then that would see the end of Giovanni Maschio's race with the rear left tyre leaving the suspension bracket, as now we saw Pedro Clero trying to close the gap on Enzo Delaney, which ultimately he would do. More side-by-side moments as well coming through turn 5. Nikita Bedrin trying to move up the order after he was given a pre-race penalty after qualifying, with all his times being deleted, starting from the back of the grid. And we saw Akshay Bora fully defending here. Of course, was given the place back after an illegal overtake there by the ART of Evan Gilter, and Slater took full advantage of it, eventually moving into P4 here in this moment. But of course the battle up at the front was what we wanted to see, and it was a magnificently managed race by Enzo Delaney to mark his 3rd race win of the season, finishing ahead of Pedro Clero from Van Amersfoort Racing, thrusting him straight into the championship fight once again. And now we take a turn to the podium. And it's going to be an interesting end to the campaign, I am sure. In fact, I'm just going to take a little bit of a gander at the points right now. It was Freddie Slater taking 10 points after that last visit, after finishing behind ART's Evan Gilter. 125 points now for Evan Gilter, just to say as well. Of course, 8 points going the way of Michael Belloff. A grand reappearance for him for CL Motorsports at the same time. In fact, it's the first points finish for Michael Belloff since race 2 at Imola. So immense credit for him for that. And it's 6 points for Mattia De Paulo. So I'm going to change my answer to this. It's actually, they're level on points by my calculations. Mattia De Paulo and Freddie Slater both sharing 226. As now we see Clero and Bora standing tall on the podium steps. Clero could have so easily become a race winner here today. Enzo Delaney takes the top step of the podium for RHGP, a double podium shared by the RHGP teammates, which will help them massively in the team's championship race. I'm sure Daniel Gilles is delighted with Clero's performance once again. Of course, we've seen great drivers come through Van Amersfoort with the likes of Kaz Avercourt and Brandon Bador. It looks like Pedro Clero is easily going to be one of those greats here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Dion Gowder, the wing rookie, once again has been in full command of the rookies classification as Mr. Santa Maria presents the 3rd place trophy to Akshay Bora. And P2 trophy by the Pirelli representative to Pedro Clero. It's yet another podium in Pedro Clero's arsenal. That's 6 he's recorded so far this season. And Mr. Santa Maria presenting the winning trophy to Enzo Delaney. His 3rd victory, and on top of that, his 8th podium of the campaign. And the winning team trophy being delivered to the R-Race GP representative by Mr. Santa Maria, of course the boss of the Circuit of Barcelona Catalunya circuit that has seen some incredible infrastructure improvements over recent years. Of course, with the amendments to the final sector as well, but it looks like Dion Gana receiving the rookie trophy at the same time. And we have the French national anthem. So by my reckoning, Mattia De Parlo, Freddie Slater, level on points. They will now proceed to Hockenheim. It's been a pleasure bringing you all the action here from Barcelona. From all of us here, it's goodbye.
Okay. Up next, we have Italian F4. But that is it. I think Matteo De Parlo and Freddie Slater matched on points heading into this round. Up next, it is Italian F4 here. Make sure you stay tuned, because that'll be coming up in about 45 minutes' time. So stay tuned. For the Italian F4 race number 3. Till then, goodbye.